In the mist-covered mountains of ancient China, before kingdoms rose and emperors ruled, there stood a solitary rock gazing toward the heavens. For countless ages, this rock absorbed the essence of the universe, the brilliance of the sun, the silence of the moon, and the breath of the earth itself. Then one day, the rock split open. From within emerged a stone egg, and from that egg came a monkey. But this was no ordinary creature. The moment he opened his eyes, golden beams of light shot forth, piercing through clouds and reaching all the way to the kingdom of heaven. This stone monkey, destined to become legend, would rise from playful trickster to challenge gods, demons, and Buddha himself. This is the story of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, and how an immortal rebel became an enlightened protector. The stone monkey landed on the mountain of flowers and fruit, a paradise filled with waterfalls, fruit trees, and hundreds of wild monkeys. He quickly proved different from the rest, stronger, braver, and endlessly curious. One day, the monkey tribe discovered a massive waterfall. Among laughter and challenges, they agreed that whoever dared to leap through the wall of water and survive would become their king. Without hesitation, the stone monkey jumped into the void, vanishing behind the roaring cascade. On the other side, he discovered a hidden cave, a perfect sanctuary, warm in winter, cool in summer, filled with fruit and wonder. He returned triumphant, led all the monkeys inside, and declared the place the Water Curtain Cave. That day, they crowned him their leader, and he became known as the Monkey King. But amid the celebration, a troubling thought entered his mind. If everyone was born, aged, and died, would he too eventually disappear? The fear of death pierced his heart like a thorn. That fear drove his next great decision, to find the secret of immortality. Guided by rumors of sages, dragons, and Buddhas who knew the path to eternal life, the Monkey King left his mountain. He built a raft, said farewell to his people, and set sail across the sea in search of masters. He traveled through human lands, stealing a woodcutter's clothes to blend in among people. For 9 years he crossed mountains and cities, asking anyone who would listen if they could teach him sacred arts. Most thought him mad. Others laughed at the idea of a monkey seeking immortality. Until he reached a secluded valley where stood the cave of the slanting moon and 3 stars, home to a revered Taoist master. One of the master's disciples opened the door without surprise, as if they'd been expecting him. The sage, impressed by the traveler's determination, accepted him as a student and gave him a new name, Sun Wukong, meaning awakened to emptiness. Under the master's guidance, Sun Wukong learned far more than magic tricks. He studied medicine, martial arts, and complex spells. He mastered the 72 transformations, allowing him to become any animal, object, or spirit. He learned to ride the clouds, crossing vast distances in a single leap. But his greatest achievement was convincing the master to teach him an internal breathing technique that broke the cycle of life and death. With it, the Monkey King became immortal, resistant to lightning, fire, and destruction. His pride grew alongside his power. After showing off to his fellow students one too many times, Sun Wukong was expelled by his master. But he had learned everything he wanted. 20 years after leaving home, he returned to the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit as an immortal warrior. What he found shattered his joy. A demon known as the monstrous King of Havoc had seized his throne and terrorized his monkey subjects. Without hesitation, Sun Wukong confronted the demon. Using his newfound magic, he plucked hairs from his body and transformed them into an army of warrior monkeys. Together, they drove out the invader and reclaimed the mountain. But Sun Wukong still lacked a proper weapon. He had heard tales that the finest armaments lay in the treasury of the Dragon King, deep beneath the Eastern Sea. So he journeyed to the underwater palace and requested an audience. The Dragon King welcomed him with tea and led him into a vast armory filled with legendary weapons. But none satisfied Sun Wukong. They were too light, like children's toys. Just as he was about to give up, he spotted a massive pillar of black iron in the corner, 20 feet tall and thick as a barrel, with golden hoops at each end. The pillar weighed over 17,000 pounds, yet Sun Wukong lifted it with ease. Even more remarkably, the weapon responded to his will. It could shrink to the size of a needle that he tucked behind his ear or expand to tower like a mountain. The Dragon King called it the Ruyi Jingu Bang, the compliant, golden-hooped rod. Intimidated by the Monkey King's power, the Dragon King and his brothers gifted him a suit of golden armor and politely asked him to leave. Armed with his magical staff and celestial powers, Sun Wukong returned home. But his bold actions had not gone unnoticed. His reputation spread far and wide, attracting demons who sought to challenge him and drawing the attention of forces far beyond the mortal realm. One day, while taking a peaceful nap, 2 emissaries from the underworld appeared in Sun Wukong's dream and kidnapped his soul, dragging him down to the realm of the dead. They brought him before Yama, king of death, expecting him to submit to mortality like any other creature. But Sun Wukong still had his magical staff tucked behind his ear. When he awoke in the underworld, fury consumed him. He bludgeoned the 2 emissaries to death and fought his way to the palace of the 10 kings, wielding his staff like a whirlwind of destruction. The kings of death, terrified of this powerful monkey, pretended they had made a mistake and brought the wrong soul. Sun Wukong demanded to see the Book of Life and Death. With a bold stroke, he erased his own name and the names of every monkey he knew, exempting them all from death's grasp forever. The gods of death immediately reported this outrage to the celestial court. The Jade Emperor, supreme ruler of heaven, was both angered and impressed by Sun Wukong's audacity. Rather than punish him, the emperor saw an opportunity. He would control the Monkey King by inviting him into the celestial bureaucracy, presenting it as an honor rather than imprisonment. Sun Wukong received a grand invitation to join the heavenly court. Pleased by what he believed was recognition of his greatness, he accepted eagerly. He was welcomed with ceremony and given a prestigious-sounding title, Protector of the Horses. At first he was delighted. He believed he was finally being recognized as one of the great immortals. But he soon discovered his real job was simply looking after the celestial stables, a position in the other gods considered lowly and mundane. This realization ignited his rage once more. Feeling tricked and belittled, Sun Wukong renounced his heavenly title and stormed back to the mountain of flowers and fruit. There he declared himself the great sage equal to heaven, a direct challenge to the Jade Emperor himself. The Emperor sent waves of celestial warriors to capture the rebellious monkey, but none succeeded. The voice of reason in heaven, the gold star of Venus, convinced the Emperor to try diplomacy once more. They offered Sun Wukong a new role, tending the garden of immortal peaches. The peaches in this garden took 3,000 years to ripen, and each one granted immortality to whoever ate it. They were meant for the Queen Mother of Heaven's grand peach festival. Sun Wukong's task was simply to guard them. You can probably guess what happened next. As each peach ripened, Sun Wukong ate it, until none remained for the festival. When 7 maidens arrived to collect the peaches, Sun Wukong trapped them in the garden. Disguising himself, he infiltrated the festival and discovered the immortals drinking the wine of immortality. He drank most of it and stole the rest. Thoroughly drunk and now multiply immortal, Sun Wukong stumbled into the garden of Laozi, the great sage. Unable to find Laozi himself, he discovered several gourds filled with pills of immortality. Naturally, he consumed them all. To escape the consequences of his actions, Sun Wukong fled back to his mountain. But this time he had gone too far. Furious at his audacity, the Jade Emperor assembled a massive celestial army to capture him. The battle was legendary. Armed with his magical staff and his accumulated powers, Sun Wukong fought with such ferocity that the heavenly army was repeatedly defeated. Each victory only increased his legend and cemented his status as a rebel defying the cosmos itself. With conventional forces failing, the goddess of mercy suggested summoning Erlang Shen, a powerful deity known for his combat skills and his third eye that could see through any disguise. The confrontation between Erlang Shen and Sun Wukong escalated into an epic, shape-shifting duel. They transformed into giant monsters, then shrunk to sparrows, then became hawks, then fish. Erlang Shen's third eye allowed him to track Sun Wukong through every transformation. Ultimately, it was Laozi who captured Sun Wukong using a diamond snare. When the Monkey King was brought before the heavenly court for execution, they faced a critical problem. He was too immortal to kill. He had eaten the peaches, drunk the wine, consumed the pills, and mastered internal alchemy. No weapon could harm him. Laozi proposed a solution. He would place Sun Wukong in the brazier of 8 trigrams for 49 days, believing this would burn away the elixirs of immortality and end the Monkey King's life. After 49 days, they opened the brazier expecting success. Instead, Sun Wukong emerged with nothing worse than smoke-reddened eyes, looking even more formidable than before. Enraged, he began battling the entire heavenly army once again. With all strategies exhausted, the Jade Emperor invoked his last option, Buddha himself. Buddha summoned Sun Wukong and offered him a simple challenge. If the Monkey King could leap out of Buddha's palm, he would be recognized as an equal to the gods and no longer pursued. Confident in his cloud somersaulting ability, Sun Wukong agreed. With a mighty leap, he soared to what he thought were the ends of the universe. To mark his achievement, he scribbled his name on one of 5 pillars he believed stood at the edge of the world. But when he returned, Buddha calmly showed him his hand. On one finger was the graffiti Sun Wukong had just written. Buddha explained that he was one with everything, and Sun Wukong had never left his palm. Realizing he'd been outmatched not by force but by wisdom, Sun Wukong tried to escape. But Buddha's hand closed around him, transforming into a mountain that imprisoned him beneath its weight. Only his head remained free. And there Sun Wukong remained for 500 years. This was not merely punishment, but an opportunity for reflection and transformation. 5 centuries later, Buddha noticed the people of China becoming increasingly greedy and violent. He decided that sacred scriptures from India could teach them righteousness and enlightenment. The compassionate goddess Guan Yin volunteered to find a worthy champion for this perilous pilgrimage. She chose a monk named Tang Sanzang, also known as Tripitaka, believed to be the reincarnation of one of Buddha's disciples. Tripitaka set out with imperial credentials, but his journey quickly turned dangerous when demons attacked, devouring his attendants. Rescued by divine intervention, Tripitaka continued alone until he reached the entrance to 5 Elements Mountain, where Sun Wukong was imprisoned. The Monkey King declared he had been waiting for Tripitaka, whom Guan Yin had foretold would free him. Tripitaka recited the sacred words inscribed at the mountain summit, lifting Buddha's seal. Sun Wukong emerged and swore loyalty to the monk. But their partnership was difficult. Tripitaka's calm patience clashed with Sun Wukong's fiery impatience. To manage him, Guan Yin gave Tripitaka a magical headband that tightened painfully whenever the monk recited a certain spell, forcing Sun Wukong to obey. Their group expanded as they traveled. A white dragon, who had accidentally eaten their horse, transformed into a steed to serve them. They recruited Ju Baji, a gluttonous, pig-faced demon exiled from heaven, and Sha Wu Jing, the Sand River demon. Each had been sent by Guan Yin to assist on the journey. For 14 years they faced countless demons, internal conflicts, and spiritual trials. With each challenge, they grew stronger and more enlightened. Sun Wukong learned patience, compassion, and humility. His role shifted from rebellious warrior to devoted protector. Finally, they reached Vulture Peak in India, where Buddha awaited them. As a test of sincerity, he first presented them with blank scriptures. When they protested, he smiled and granted them the actual sacred texts, recognizing their true commitment. The journey back to China was swift. Upon delivering the scriptures to the emperor, they were honored before being transported back to Buddha's presence. There they received divine recognition for their service. Tang Sanzang achieved Buddhahood. Ju Baji became the cleanser of altars. Sha Wu Jing was elevated to a golden arhat. The white dragon horse transformed into a celestial dragon. And Sun Wukong, the once rebellious monkey king who had defied heaven and battled gods, was granted the title of victorious fighting Buddha. His journey from mischievous imp to enlightened protector was complete. As he stood upon the peaks of the mountain of flowers and fruit once more, Sun Wukong gazed out over the lands that had known his wild antics and now witnessed his wisdom. He took his place among the clouds, a beacon of balance between earthly passion and heavenly peace. In his heart he carried the eternal truths he had learned, that wisdom comes from seeking understanding beyond oneself, that power should be wielded for good, and that redemption is accessible to all souls willing to walk the path of enlightenment. The Monkey King's legend endures as a timeless story of transformation, teaching us that even the most rebellious spirit can find peace, and that the greatest journey is not across the world, but within ourselves.